It is the earthquaking, pillar shaking, podcast listening leader of the Meat Pop Express, Big Trouble Ben Bishop. And get ready, folks, because you are tuned in to the fastest growing professional wrestling podcast in the world, the 3 Count Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another great edition of the 3 Count Presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. As always, like there would be anybody else who would want to do this but me. And let's go down our roster. He is right below me. You know him. He's the guy who does nothing but sleep. The only reason why he's on this show is because he likes to watch Wrestle Talk and Cultaholic and act like their opinion is his opinion. So, you know him as JJ. I call him Q, but let's welcome Napster.
Hello, thank you very much. I like to take the sidewalks, keep me off the street. Dangerous times going around, so make sure you guys are locked and loaded because the Revolutionary War Part 2 going on outside. So, chitty, chitty, bang, murder everything. That's all for me.
So, this is the 3 Count Presents Now Entering the Ring, which means we have a special guest. Now, we didn't tell him this, but he is our 50th interview, and we had to make it big. We had to make it special, and you have seen this man. I don't even have to introduce this man, but you could have found him on ROH. You could have found him on WWE. You could have found him in New Japan. You could have found him in Lucha Libre USA, you know, for some of you who were around at that time, like myself. But let's give it up to the cruiser great TJP.
What's going on, guys? Thank you very much for having me.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm so elated to have you on.
Well, I appreciate that. You guys are making my afternoon festive today.
I appreciate it, man. So
yeah,
I usually ask questions, man, and the first question I ask is, who is XYZ? But let's be honest, man, if people don't know who you are, they really don't have a pulse on wrestling. So I really just want to ask this question, man. It's been 20 plus years that you've been in the business. You have been everywhere, all around the world. Every wrestler has one story, and I want to know, what is your favorite fan interaction?
Oh, favorite fan interaction. I don't know. I had a lot of pleasant ones everywhere. Probably one of the nicest ones was there was a show I did in California for WWE. I think we were in Anaheim, and it was after SmackDown, I think it was, and so 205 would close SmackDown, so I ended up closing the show there because we went on last. It was me and Pac, me and Neville. And so it was really cool to close a show in Anaheim, especially at the Anaheim Ponds. When I first started, I used to do these dirt shows. They were terrible in Anaheim. One of my best friends in wrestling, we started together, and we would do these shows together and drive home. We would drive past the ponds after wrestling in like a swap meet, and we would say, like, you know, we'd touch it. Someday we'll wrestle in that building. My buddy, his name's Dave. He's no longer in the business, but he came to the show that night, and I closed the show there. And yeah, I went to the WrestleMania there when I was a little kid and watched Shawn and Brett do the Iron Man match there. So it was really cool to be able to, like, you know, be like the main event of the night, or the last match to go on of the night, I guess, so to speak. And then afterward, just being in my hometown, like coming out of the parking garage there, there's a bridge from the arena that overlooks the parking garage, so you could kind of see all the wrestlers or players, whoever, you know, whatever athletes are coming in and out for whatever sport is going on there. And so people could see me, like, coming and going, and all the other guys, and a lot of the fans ran into the street and stopped my car. And, you know, I'm not like Roman Reigns or nothing, so, like, you know, I wouldn't usually expect that sort of thing. But being in my hometown and like getting that type of hometown love, and like having to literally just like park my car and like get out and just talk to everybody and take pictures and meet everybody, and just like to kind of feel that love. That was really cool. That was something that, like, I'll never forget, that just to have had that experience.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like I really, that's like one of the best stories like we've heard like on the show, because like I say that in a sense that everybody's like number one stories, man. And I love hearing these stories too about like the time that they met this kid and this kid told them that they're their hero. Like we get those stories a lot, and to hear someone like talk about their hometown, like that's one of the coolest things to like hear someone get to stop. So in essence, in Anaheim, I mean, you are Roman Reigns, so you're that guy.
Well, I think it was really cool because, like, you know, I've been to so many Raws and SmackDowns and, you know, Staples and Anaheim and, like, you know, wrestling in Staples Center, for example. Like, that's my favorite venue. Like, yeah, it's the house that Kobe built and Shaq, and like to be like an LA boy to wrestle there is so great. And then in Anaheim, same thing. And I remember what it's like to be them, to be on like that bridge and waiting for like Shawn Michaels and guys to come out of the building. And it's like, oh, I want to try to meet them, you know, and Steve Austin, these guys. And so I remember what it was like to be like 11, 12 years old and doing that, like rushing cars. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm literally here for WWE and they're rushing my car now. And like, it was just really nice because, you know, they're my people. So it was cool.
That is cool, man. So you've had a historic career, as we have mentioned. Do you have like, can you tell us like 3 of your top favorite moments that you've had?
Well, that's one. You know, not. I mean, the fan interaction was nice, but more so like doing that match there, like Neville or Pac, whoever is listening, however you know him by. He's such a wonderful performer, and I love being in the ring with him. You know, we have a lot of mutual respect, so I loved being in the ring with him anytime I could. So being able to close a show, especially with him, is good. But doing it in that building was special. So I'll always like remember that, like kind of closing a show there and just like having kind of promised myself someday I would do that. You know, there's been, it's hard to narrow certain things down because a lot of things have sentimental value to me. Yeah, I did the Tokyo Dome when I was 18. I'm the youngest American to ever do it. So that was a big moment for me because I had always wanted to get to New Japan someday in my mind. And for that to have been the first company to recruit me and take a chance on me out of the gate was that I could have never dreamed that it would work out that way. So doing that was pretty cool. The Super J Cup, that was my WrestleMania moment. Like a lot of guys, like they grew up watching whatever they grew up watching, you know, and a lot of people, especially wrestling fans, you know, it's WrestleMania. You have a WrestleMania moment. But for me, I never really dreamed about being on WrestleMania. I was a WWF kid, but my dream was always to be in the Super J Cup because I remember growing up and watching those, and that's where Eddie came from, and Benoit and Malenko and all these guys that I loved, and you know, Ray had his breakout showcase match with Psychosis as the J Cup, you know, special attraction match, and like I always wanted to be part of that event. So to be able to do that this past year was a big moment for me. And then, you know, on the final night, I was able to be in a tag team match with Jushin Liger in LA, my hometown. It was a hot crowd, and it was part of his retirement tour. And we won the match. I won the match for us, so that was cool. Like, so I really couldn't replace that moment for anything. You know, the CWC is a big moment too. I mean, there's a lot, but I think those really stand out to me. And then getting to go to CMLL and closing a show at Arena Mexico, because I'm a big Lucha Libre guy. I came up in Lucha Libre. That's how I got my start. So, you know, when I was 18, 19 years old, like shortly after I started New Japan, I went to CMLL and I got to wrestle in Arena Mexico every Friday, and to close a show there and to have you know, I think we got voted match of the year for them, for CMLL at least, that year, and to do that in Arena Mexico as a teenager, that was a big moment, to do all these things that I never dreamed I'd be able to do.
Man, it's incredible, especially being able to work with Jushin Thunder like on his go home tour. Like I don't know what I would do, man. That's an incredible moment. Well,
many nights I got to be in matches with him, both in the tour in Japan and then obviously in the Super J Cup, and I was either on his team or opposite teams from him. And like, there were several times that like I literally cried when his music played. Cause it's like, these are for a lot of reasons. I mean, he's one of the greatest of all time, and to be sharing the ring, sharing the locker room with him is a big thing. It's a huge honor, you know, to have his trust is a huge honor. And just growing up in New Japan, like when I was younger, I'd hear his music every night, And that was when he was younger. He was in his prime, and I was barely starting. And you take it for granted. I would hear his music every single night. And now, last year we'd be on these last few matches for him, and I'd be like, man, these are the last times we're gonna hear it play. And it's so crazy. So those were emotional matches for
Yeah. So, man, I just think about that too, because I watched the New Japan Cup this year just because I knew what like the significance of everything was playing out. And to see that play out, I was like, man, it's insane to think. Because I remember it's funny because we're the same age, and like I remember watching him like from young days, like,
yeah.
and it's the throwback too. And like you're talking about New Japan, and I was thinking about guys like the Ultimo Dragon and just seeing those guys perform. And you're right, man. Those guys are you get to see those guys, but to know that you are getting to work with those legends as well, man, like going from a child to being to that age, man, it's incredible to see like someone get to live out their dream. So, like big.
There is too. I mean, that reminds me. I mean, there's a kind of a low key moment that it's a match that I had in Canada, and a lot of people don't know that this match ever took place. There was a company in Canada called UWA, and they were sort of like a Ring of Honor in Canada, in Toronto, for like, I don't know, a span of 3 or 4 years. And production was great. Roster was killer. They had a lot of guys that were coming up, and they hadn't yet blown up yet. Like, I mean, for example, Kevin Owens was like in the opening matches there when I was there. So like that gives you an idea of the type of talent that they had there that the world hadn't really been exposed to yet. This was like the mid 2000s, So some of these guys were just still coming up. The Motor City Machine Guns, Sanjay Dutt, like all kinds of different guys were on these shows. And they booked a match one time, and it was myself and Jushin Liger versus Ultimo Dragon and a young, brand new student of Ultimo Dragon named Okada. And he was brand new at the time. And I remember one, you never see Liger versus Dragon on American soil ever. You rarely see that anyway, at any place, even in Japan, but especially now or at that time. And for that to happen in North America, and like, to be part of that, and also like have seen the growth of like from Okada as a student to now he's like going to end up going down as one of the greatest of all time. And to be part of that was an honor. Like, and it's so crazy because not a lot of people ever knew that match existed. And that was a pretty cool, looking back, that was a very, very cool moment
for me. Shit, I'm gonna build a time machine. I'm going back to Canada. I'm finding this match and I'm gonna go watch it live. Building a time machine. I'm gonna ask Elon Musk for a loan. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. My next question for you, man, and like we said, you've like, God, man, working with so many legends and stuff like that. Like, what keeps you motivated to want to stay in the business?
I think kind of understanding like what the machine that we have and who it serves, like how it serves, fans, and how it creates entertainment, and understanding like what my gifts were to kind of be part of like a cog in this machine. I've always kind of understood that at a young age. Like I've always had a really high aptitude for this. I always knew the different things I can do. I was blessed with versatility in all this. I mean, I guess it's kind of like, and I don't mean to make this comparison directly, but it's sort of like an analogy. Like I think Jim Ross said it one time in like a documentary where he was trying to talk about like, I think Sean and Brett, when he said it's kind of like Beethoven as like a toddler looking at a piano, and it just makes sense. You don't need to teach him. It just makes sense. Just put him right in front of it. He'll figure it out. And for me, that's what wrestling was for me. And I don't mean to say that I'm like Beethoven or Mozart of like wrestling. But it made sense to me. And I've always been really good at helping others and getting people going, and sort of kind of being like a quiet leader in that way. So when I'm in there with guys who I think are these incredible legends, they know that they're in safe hands with me. When I'm in there with young guys, they know that I can help them get through it, and they can learn some things, I guess, from my experiences. And then when I'm in there with contemporaries, like same thing as with legends, they know they're going to have an easy night with me. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to put them in the best position possible to look as good as they can. I've always been great at supporting other people. And I think that's what really gives me a lot of drive for this, is it's given me a lot of longevity. Not trying too hard to be a star anywhere, and mostly just trying to just apply myself in whatever is needed. You know, if we need whatever position you need played, I'll play it. And that's, I guess that is the best way to put it. I've always been sort of a 5-tool ball player in that way. So, you know, if you need me to come off the bench, I'll come off the bench. If you need me to hold a title, I'll hold a title, and everything in between. So that gives me a lot of drive for this, because as long as my legs are healthy and God permits and I'm having fun, I love being able to do all those things for all these different people and make it work at any level.
Yeah, I mean, I know how versatile you are. Just like, for a perfect example, right? The Cruiserweight Classic, right? Where, you know, you have like these killer matches on there, and just all the different people, especially like with Ibushi coming up, and you know, you have Grand Metalik, another one. Like, there's, I mean, that's 2 different language barriers right there that you have to have a talk with, you know what I mean, and just work with them. But I also know, like, you've came through CMLL, so you kind of got like the idea of like how to work with someone like Grand Metalik. I know that you've worked in New Japan, so obviously you have that. Like, talk about like, can you talk us about a little bit about like how you're able to be so like, obviously, like, experience and longevity, but what are some of the other factors that you kind of feel like help you in the business?
I guess, you know, like with age comes wisdom, and with experience comes wisdom, you know. And you got to be able to get out and get that experience. And I think that's the thing. Like, I think maybe from this kind of helped me understand sports a little bit better too. Because, like, you know, when you're younger and you're a sports fan, or even like acting or something like that, and you rank your favorite players or favorite actors, and you say so and so is better than so and so, or this is better than that, or whatever the case may be. One thing I've come to understand is that, like, as a fan of something, it's easy to confuse one person's individual success and individual popularity with experience necessarily, because they don't necessarily correlate. They don't necessarily go hand in hand. And vice versa. There's a lot of guys and athletes, actors, whatever, that have so much experience, but it doesn't necessarily correlate to like popularity or certain amount of individual success in some way. For me, having been so like broadly traveled, and I've been a student everywhere I went. You know, I was a young boy in Japan in the dojo. They, you know, same as like Benoit or anybody else, they took me in. I had to do the squats and clean up, cook the lunches and stuff like that. Stay in the dorms. And I've always loved being a student everywhere I go. CMLL, same way. I was a student in the gyms that they had. You know, and I, like, when I was first starting out, even in California, I spent a lot of time going to every wrestling. So I didn't just train in one place and say, okay, I'm good enough to do matches, I'm debuting, and that's it. Like, I had a key to every gym, every single wrestling gym. I would go to 2-3 wrestling practices a day in 2 or 3 different gyms. Like, that's the way I was. And I think with that type of experience comes a versatility. I think a good analogy for it is like, you know, if you get like a student driver, like a teenager, they've only been driving like a year, and they're going to make a left turn at a light, for example. So they're going to turn the wheel, and then they're going to turn it back. Like, they're going to use 2 hands and do so much with their hands. Whereas like an older person, like a middle-aged person who's been driving for decades, they might make that turn and then kind of let the wheel go and just stop the wheel when it's straight again and then drive. And they just make it so much easier to them because they know how the car is going to move. They know what the wheel is going to do. They know the angle of the road. They don't have to concentrate that hard on it. And they use that analogy for hockey too. Like, a lot of players that play well into their 40s, they say, like, just because it's a high athletic sport and a high speed, you know, type thing, a lot of the older players just have a great sense of the angles and the bounces. They know where the puck's going to be before it gets there, and they can cut the corners because they just know the game so well. And so for me, I just think, you know, this is going to be, I think, 22 years for me now in wrestling. So I started in 1998. And so it just having all those experiences everywhere for so long, I could see things play out. Sometimes I could even just hear it. I could hear a match and know where they're at and know what they're doing right or wrong or something like that. And it just comes with so many repetition, and seeing the world, seeing how other fans from different parts of the world like react to things. So it's sort of like a people game as well. And I think that really is what it is. You know, you just spend enough time doing it, you understand it on a certain level.
Alrighty, I guess it's my turn to ask questions. So, Mr. TJP, my question for you, let's say we fast forward 5 years, had a time machine, 5 years. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, per se?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. You know, I'm in a really good spot right now. When I was leaving WWE, I really wanted the opportunity to kind of be independent a little bit and manage my own schedule and do some of the things I really wanted to do. Before I went to WWE, I turned down the initial offer when I was in the CWC because I wanted to go back to Mexico and Japan. I'd been in TNA for like 3 or 4 years. I was in Ring of Honor for a couple of years, and I didn't have that chance. I really I was kind of, I'd say homesick, but the opposite. I wanted to get back to like Japan and Mexico, and it'd been years. Regal kind of talked me into staying in WWE. So when I was leaving WWE, you know, a few years later, fast forward from that, you know, I was really looking forward to doing what I'm doing now. I was just getting back to traveling the world and doing that, and kind of finding my groove with Impact at the moment and New Japan. And, you know, they get along so well now, and that relationship is really good. And I play, I don't want to say a vital role in both rosters, but they both see me as a necessity. So that's more than I could ever ask for, because I've always loved Impact. I always thought the roster was great. The camaraderie there is always so good. And New Japan will always kind of be my first home. So hopefully, fast forward 5 years, I could be in the same situation. I don't know if I'll be locked down, but if I do, hopefully it is some form of being able to being able to do those couple things, and maybe some Mexico as well.
Yeah, that's what's up. Always gotta, you know, that first home, man. Something about the first home that's just like always heartfelt. So my next question for you would be, since you're so you're so experienced in the game and the industry, what would be the best advice you would give to up and coming wrestlers coming into the industry?
It's an old saying, and it's almost hokey, to be honest. And it's almost a joke. It is a joke at times, but I think there's a lot of wisdom in it if you kind of take it for what it is. The old saying is that the only thing that's real is the money and the miles. And I think the wisdom in that is, and this would be my advice, is that there's so much archaic, like, nuanced culture about wrestling that I think kind of doesn't really belong anymore, and it gets in people's way professionally. And what I mean is, like, there's so many like ideas of totem poles and pyramids in this, and like a hierarchy involved, and it's kind of a boys club, and you kind of see that getting exposed now, like through social media. A lot of these old ideas, which have started to become problematic in different ways, are starting to kind of get attacked now. And I think that there's even more layers to that on a social level and a professional level, where it's like, it's not, this stuff isn't real. You know, people take it too seriously. It starts to affect you in your real life. And I think my best advice would be to understand what your job actually is, and that you're all human beings in it. If you start it and you get into it, everybody should be looked at as your peer. And don't put people on pedestals. Don't put yourself on a pedestal. Just do your job and be good at it, and understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. And, you know, if you really want to do it, there's no advice I can ever give anybody to motivate you, because you'll find a way to do it. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? Like, it's like that old motivational speech, you know, if you can't breathe, you'll find a way to take a breath. Like that, like nothing's going to stop you. Like it's life or death at that point, you know? So when you want to do this as bad as you want to breathe, You don't need advice. You'll find the answers to your questions. But my best advice would be to, I guess, stay level-headed in that way. Like, don't get ahead of yourself, but don't get behind yourself. Have confidence and learn how to do the game and how to contribute to it. And, you know, people will start putting their faith in you. You'll have a long career.
Wow. That was amazing, because we've never gotten that type of analogy before. So that's awesome. My next question would be for you: when it's all said and done, what do you want the legacy of TJP to be? Like, when it's all said and done.
I mean, that's none of my business, man. I mean, that's the truth. Like, Johnny Depp has this great answer that he had once. I think Letterman asked, maybe Letterman, Conan or Letterman, I think it was Letterman, asked him, you know, have you seen such and such movie back now that you've wrapped on it? I don't remember what project it was, but he had finished a movie. He was doing the you know, the Late Show or whatever. And he said, no, I haven't seen it. And he asked him, have you seen any of them? And he says, no, not really. Usually he doesn't watch them, I guess. And his answer for that was that he, you know, once he did it, he can't change it. It's out there. It's not for him anyway. It's for fans. It's for their benefit. It's entertainment. And his literal words were, it's none of my business. And so to me, that's what I think. I mean, like, all this stuff is nice. I started to actually put some of my stuff up from my career, like from Mexico and different things. And this is mostly just like for my family and stuff like that, or like my future kids to see. But for the most part, I mean, it's none of my business, man. I mean, people, hopefully I entertain people. And if they think I'm great or all time or something like that, awesome. If they don't, that's awesome too. I'm thankful for the time and that I had the opportunity. Hopefully I still got another 10 years in me and my legs are healthy enough. And it doesn't really matter to me. You know, I was able to provide for my family. That's the only legacy I want. That's it.
Wow. Humble man indeed. My last question for you: what is the worst bump you have ever taken?
Oh shit. I'm trying to think of that one. There were two really bad ones in WWE, to be honest. You could find them too. There was one I gave Brian Kendrick, old friend of mine, and I love Brian so much. I felt so bad. I scared him to death. I gave Brian Kendrick a top rope head scissors that we tumbled out of the ring. And normally I'm able to grab the rope on the way down. I missed it this time. I've never missed it in my life. I've done this, I don't know, maybe a dozen times. Never missed the rope. I even did it in a Cruiserweight Classic. Nailed it. This time I missed the rope. And I landed right on the back of my head on the apron. I'm lucky I hit the apron, or else I would have went all the way to the cement and probably died, broken my neck. But I almost broke my neck as it was. I folded up on the apron, went down. I remember my hands, everything was tingly, and I was like laying there. I'm like, this is how I die. This is how it ends right here. And it was in Connecticut, I think we were, somewhere maybe in the New England area. And I remember laying there and just like thinking, this is where I die. And I was like, I'm gonna die right here on Raw. And my hands were moving and everything was okay. So I was like, okay, thank God I didn't break my neck. Vince was scared to death. I got to the back and he's like, go see the doctor, please. Don't ever do that again. And I was like, I don't want to do it again. And so that was a pretty bad one. And another one from this, around the same time period, I was wrestling with Jack Gallagher, and we were doing a match for 205, and he wanted to give me a suplex off the top rope, a back suplex. And this fool just chucked me. We got in the air and he just lost me completely. And I landed, same thing. I just landed right on my head and rolled out of the ring. That one, thank God I was okay. They put me through concussion protocol to make sure that I didn't have brain damage or nothing. But those are probably two of the more gnarly ones that I've had.
Yeah, I remember both of those.
Yeah.
As a fan, I remember watching both of those. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, those are pretty bad.
All right. Well, it's come to that part of the show where we have with our guests the world famous 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. So it's pretty easy, man. Just firing off questions. First thought that comes to mind. Can't fail.
All right.
We've had people answer, whether you like SmackDown or Raw, and they said pumpkins. It was awesome. I enjoyed it.
All right.
So we're putting on the imaginary clock. Bing! And here we go. Favorite color?
Pumpkins. I'm just kidding. Purple.
Right on.
Purple.
Favorite wrestler as a kid?
Eddie.
Right on. Hawk or animal?
Hawk.
Okay. Drink of choice?
Oh, probably these Monster Boys right here. They'll be the death of me someday.
So Friday night, what are you doing?
Friday night. Any Friday or this Friday?
Any Friday.
Any Friday. Playing Overwatch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Batman or Superman?
Oh, Batman.
Favorite video game?
Well, it's becoming Overwatch. All-time Super Mario World.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best place to wrestle?
Ooh. Staples Center. Or Arena Mexico.
Okay.
So one's sentimental. The other one is Arena Mexico. If you've ever been there, it's one of those things. If you know, you know. So every time somebody breaks their Arena Mexico cherry, I'm like, you get it now, and they get it. Yeah.
All right. This is a question I specially wrote just for you. Have you ever eaten balut?
No, I've avoided that okie doke. I learned at a young age that we are just tricking fools with that. Filipinos don't even like that, and we all we ever do is ask people to try it, and we laugh, we love it, and we put them through it. Nobody likes it. Few people like it. No, I avoid it.
No, I'll be honest. I'm one of those, and I'll never do it again.
No, I won't do it.
That or Dury, it just can't be a thing, man. I just won't do it anymore. Like, JJ, we'll tell you after the show.
Yeah, but I'm confused.
And our favorite question to ask every single person here: favorite curse word?
Oh, definitely fuck.
Hey,
It's so versatile.
It is.
Yeah. It's too easy. It's too easy.
Super easy. All right, so Mr. TJP, can you let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you?
Pretty much everything I got. I mean, I don't have too much stuff, but everything I got is pretty much at Mega TJP. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and my Twitch streams as well at Mega TJP. I'm consolidated all of my merchandise and stuff to my pro wrestling tees. So you can find me there at TJP for that if you want to pick up some stuff. There's a summer sale going on right now. By the time people hear this, I don't know if it'll be up anymore. I think it's only one more day. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you very much, for watching. If you catch me on Impact every Tuesday, New Japan has a secondary USA show that they're doing right now during the COVID situation until the travel embargo is cut down, and that airs every Friday. You can find that on New Japan World or on Fight as well. Impact on Twitch or Access TV. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching if you're hearing this. And without you guys, there's no me. So.
Man, we appreciate everything once again. So like we said, this is the 3 Count Podcast, now entering the ring. TJP, I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, and JJ the Napster is here. So tune in, guys, to the next episode and be there or be somewhere else. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3countpod, give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh, at ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.